Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you all so much for checking out Christmania 2025. We have reached our final destination. And to wrap things up this year, it couldn't be, I couldn't do another Christmania without talking about the Holdovers. I just couldn't because this movie's awesome. And it's one of those ones where when I walked out of the theater, I said to myself, that's going to be a holiday classic right there. And 2 years on, I believe it has. But I had to get someone on who loves Christmas just as much as I do to help me talk about this. It's Chad Webb. Chad, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Very excited to talk about the holdovers.
Yeah, so this was directed by Alexander Payne. Chances are you all know who he is. He directed Election, Nebraska, Sideways, The Descendants. He's been around, and it starred Paul Giamatti, Dominic Sessa, Divine Joy Randolph, among others, and tells the story of three people who are they're holdovers at a very prestigious school in New England. The main character is Paul Hunnam, played by Paul Giamatti, who is the professor, the teacher that nobody really likes. He teaches like he's very dead set on the rules and the regulations. And the school directors like him even less. So they basically force him to stay as a holdover to watch all the other students who are also holdovers, which eventually whittles down to just one named Angus, played by Dominic Sessa. And the two, over the course of the holidays, form a relationship with each other, along with another employee named Mary, played by the great in this movie, Divine Joy Randolph. And so, Chad, like I said, when I walked out of this, I'm like, this is a classic right here. I loved it as soon as I watched this, and I think you would agree with me on that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember seeing this and in the theater, and it was one of those movies to where it just got the vibe that it was going for perfect. Like it wanted to be like a 1960s or 70s. It was kind of somewhere in between that time, it feels like.
Vietnam is a pretty big, like, overarching thing throughout this movie. I believe it was early 70s.
Yeah. Yeah, so it feels like somewhere in between there. And like just how they got it down to kind of like old style credits and just really transporting you to that specific time, and just being this movie that for me, as soon as I saw it, it was instantly one of my favorite movies of that year. And then the more and more I watch it now, every single year, it's like the main one of the main, not the main one, but one of the main ones, and the newest movie that I look forward to watching the most every Christmas time. And it's one that I feel like every single time I watch it, I enjoy it more and more, and so much so that it might even be my favorite movie of the 2020s.
Okay. I mean, we're 5 years deep, and so if you're gonna choose one, you might as well choose that one because it's really great stuff. And Paul Giamatti's good in most of the things that he's in. I feel like here it's some of his best work because Paul Hunnam is a bit of a tough, he's a bit of a tough teacher. Like, you get that off the jump. However, he's not a complete, he's not completely unsympathetic. Throughout the movie, he gets more sympathetic and likable, but when you first meet him, you're like, yeah, he's kind of a jerk to his students, but it's not like he's doing it on purpose. He is trying to get him to learn and trying to, instill some values in him, and he's just going about it in counterproductive ways in certain circumstances. When he is in cool teacher mode, he's great. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when he and Angus are in the museum and he goes on the monologue of there is nothing new in history, Mr. Tully.
There's nothing new in human experience, Mr. Tully, but man's every impulse and appetite, from the disgusting to the sublime, is on display right here.
And I butchered that, I know. but it's a great little scene. I think about that scene quite often.
Candy cane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this movie's like the writing of this movie is kind of perfect because you take the two characters, Paul and Angus, and they're very different in a way, but they're also so similar. They both feel like they're kind of stuck in their own ways and stuck in the way that they do things so much that it's kind of unquestionable that they would ever change. And what it takes is exactly what they didn't really want, is to be stuck together, to find out, what's going on. Like, why are they so stuck? Why is Paul like kind of unwilling to change, and why does Angus feel, why is he always lashing out even though he seems to be kind of a brilliant kid? And the development of like these relationships, even like the relationships with Mary, I think just end up being so special that when you find out, like, you get like a little bit like 20 minutes into it or something like that, and then you realize, oh wait, this movie really only stars three people for the most part. And then you're like, how do you make like a movie like that? And then you just like realize that's all you need just to build a like a beautiful story, and to show these characters changing, and really focus on these few characters.
Yes, it keeps it very much within these 3, and that's all the movie needed to be. You get, like, some side characters, like, you get the dean of the dean of the school, which the beginning there and at the end, just one of my favorite movie insults of all time. I'll play the clip here, Chad. I know you know the one I'm talking about,
Yes.
but I'll just insert it in post right here.
That you are and always have been penis cancer in human form.
Here, but that whole thing's great. You get a glimpse of Angus's parents, I think his dad, if my memory serves me right, and they could give less of a crap about him, which is
Yeah.
incredibly sad, but it is what it is. And but all the while, it's just those 3, and those 3 are genuinely really interesting. And Alexander Payne, to his credit, gets the most out of all of them because they're all complex in their own way. And Dominic Sessa is also really good. I don't want to forget about him. But Divine Joy Randolph, wow. I had never heard of her before this movie. And she just nearly ran away with the whole thing. Like, Giamatti's great in most of the things that he's in. Like I mentioned, he's great here. But Divine Joy Randolph, I would argue, is just as good, if not better.
Yeah, I mean, she won her Oscar. Paul Giamatti had to go up against uh, Cillian Murphy, and Dominic Sessa wasn't even nominated. But Divine Joy Randolph, like throughout the whole Oscar season, if you're talking about performance, like there was no question she was a lock from like the very beginning of the season, and then people just knew that was like the award that was going to be nominated. That wasn't something having to do with Oppenheimer. And yeah, just to see all of these like little scenes of just her going on with her day to day while deep in grief from her son. Like for me, this gets more and more emotional for me each time, having being a parent. And every time someone, like when the one little asshole, as she would say, that basically uh insults her and stuff like that, just really like gets to me, because it just, this is a woman in grief. And I feel like every little moment that she has to like break it down or just show even just like a little bit of sadness, it really it conveys through her performance like to me, and makes me almost like start bawling, especially like when she opens the box that she keeps carrying around and touching and stuff, and you find out that it's her son's old baby bottle and baby clothes and shoes and stuff like that. And it's just, yeah, it's just what do you call it, tragic.
It heartbreaking stuff.
Yeah,
And just yeah, this movie's great for a lot of reasons, but it's also like it hits that balance of like, yes, it can be very sad and dark, but it's also really funny.
very
Like
funny.
stuff in the trailer where Angus breaks his arm and like Paul gives the face, and then they have to drive to the hospital. It's like, what were you thinking back there? I die every time. And
Even
then
just even just like not cutting the scene of the just the inconvenience of this and Paul Giamatti having to ice off the car and he's like, hurry up, kind of a deal. It's just brilliant, like the editing and everything of this movie to
New England.
just to make the comedy really hit. It's perfect.
Yeah, and there's no real moment of like there's no real like we're trying to be funny here, guys. If you could please laugh. Like, no, it just feels natural. Like it just
Genuine.
happens. Like
Yeah.
it feels like the gears shift from dark to light and you don't notice it until you're like until you do, and then it's like it runs so smoothly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's because, like, I think all of the emotion, both comedic and tragic in this movie are, like, deeply rooted in the characters, and that the characters are so well written and well portrayed that just, like, watching these characters do the things that they would normally do often becomes can become really funny. Like, when you're watching all the different people getting ready for the Christmas party, and then you see, Paul Giamatti just kind of barely getting ready. And you're just like, yeah, he would. That would be what he would do to freshen up.
Yeah, see, like Paul Hunnam is someone that like I go from like, yeah, I feel you there to dude, you need to get a life. Like with
Yeah.
no in between. Like I've read Marcus Aurelius's book Meditations. It's very good, but I wouldn't be that obsessed with it.
Yeah, I mean, even like going to just how he can't really relate to anyone. He's just so antisocial that like when he goes to the bowling alley, leaves Angus alone, and then he goes to tell the guy why his suit is wrong because of historically that doesn't make sense. Kind of a deal. And then they're just staring at him like he's a social pariah and doesn't really know how to relate to people. And I mean that's kind of what he is. He grew up in this one place and has only really existed in this one place, and all the things that he knows about, he just knows about a lot from books, and he's never really experienced anything. And so it's one of those things where he can talk the talk, but he can't really walk the walk until he finally does. He finally has a reason to leave.
When he does finally open up with the whole monologue where he's like, I find the world to be a cruel, cold, bitter place, man, that is sadly relatable in parts, but like just speaks to Paul Giamatti and how good he is. Like I've enjoyed him in like a lot of things, like John Adams and Downton Abbey and like others I others I can mention. Like I'll put posters somewhere here. But here just he's just so good. Like he kind of this movie kind of reminds me of like a mix of like the school aspect of Dead Poet Society with
Mm.
like the human drama aspect of like Goodwill Hunting. And I'm sure there's like influences I'm missing with this, but those are the two movies that I associate this with.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it's like a mentor and a mentee, and they're kind of learning from each other. And you know, yeah. I mean, I think this movie is just really grounded in like that relationship to where when like at first they're at odds the whole time, and then when they're in Boston after Mary goes to stay with her sister for a little while, um when Angus goes to leave, like to ditch Paul to go see his dad, it kind of feels like a betrayal. And then to see that kind of come full circle, like at the end where Paul actually lies for him, he gives it back from when Angus lied to basically keep his job. Paul then later lies for Angus so that he can stay in school. And
Mhm.
I just love kind of like all of the mirrors in the movie that comes full circle. Like you look at this eye, this is the one you look at. Just all these little touches that the movie has that just makes you. I don't know what I'm saying, but you know what I'm saying. Like it just kind of comes full circle, and it just is so satisfying.
I also feel like there's quite a bit of Paul kind of resigning himself to the fact that his time is pretty much over at this school. And so just for once he like tries personally to pass along, like not from the bully pulpit of like, you will read this and like it. Like he doesn't do that. He takes the time to try and connect. And he does, and it's beautiful. And you feel like this is him doing it for literally the first time. To your point, you were talking about the suit scene where it's like he had a hard time connecting with people because this is like all that he knew. There's like the awkwardness of that, but with Angus, he sees an outlet to finally like impart something. And he does, to his eternal credit. It costs him his job, but I have a feeling he was kind of wanting to leave there anyway because he didn't make it a secret that he did not like how the school was running. So it was like a situation of I'm like he's leaving or they're firing him, and the latter ended up happening.
Yeah, he needed a push, and it's just like other moments in this movie that just really get to me, or just like when, like you were talking about, like Paul was very pessimistic about the future and about kids, and basically saying how they're all just terrible, and they're just all nepotism, and all they're going to do is just go on to run some Fortune 500 or some sort of thing and have power, and they'll never really do anything like that good to change things. And then he has that pessimism, and then he talks to the one teacher that he likes, and then she says, well, maybe this is the reason that this is the time that these kids need you the most, kind of a deal. And to see him imparting that kind of wisdom on Angus is amazing, because like Angus is just a kid that his dad got sick and got basically thrown away, and then his mom married someone else, and then they just spend all their time being together and just kind of throwing Angus away, putting him in this school. And then every time he acts up, they go, well, we're going to send you to a new school. And then if you act up so much, we're going to send you to military school. And you can see just how like more and more punishment and more distance is not the answer. What Angus really needed was someone to relate to, was someone to connect to. And, Paul is the most hated teacher in the school, is the most likely one that ended up, connecting to him because he also needed something. And it just to see Angus kind of, be afraid of what his future is going to be, because thinking about he could end up like his dad, and to, think that he might not be able to fully actualize his full potential. Like, Paul says he's a brilliant kid, maybe not like a genius level, but like really, really smart at least. And he's like, to waste that full potential because you don't want to deal with him, just like you threw away his dad, basically saying, we don't want to deal with him. It's such a sad kind of like vicious cycle. And it's great to see Angus, at least if his parents aren't going to change, he's going to change, and he's going to understand that he has the power to make things better, and that, people do care about him. And I don't know, this movie's just so emotional for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's emotional for me too. It's not just a great Christmas movie, it's just a great movie, period.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, to kind of wrap things up, this is just like the perfect set of like ingredients to make just one, like you said, it's your favorite movie of the 2020s. I think it's one of the best movies of the 2020s so far. It just covers all the bases. The performance is great. The writing's great. This is a great little soundtrack in there too. If you like 70s music, this is for you. Like, it even looks beautiful. I mean, it's an Alexander Payne movie, so
Yeah.
it's gonna look good regardless. But here it especially looks great. You feel cold when you're watching this, but in a good way. Like,
Yeah.
you want to sit by a fire and drink some cocoa while you're watching this. Point is, this movie's awesome. And like I said, it's not just a great Christmas movie, it's a great movie, period. You can watch this any time of year, though Christmas is, it definitely hits harder. I'll just
Oh yeah.
say that for the record. And it does take place over the holidays, so it definitely makes more narrative sense to watch it around this time.
Yeah. Yeah. This is definitely one that, like you said, it makes you feel cold with the setting, but then all the emotion and just a beautiful story warms you up from that
Yes.
cold. So
But I pass it off to all of you. What did you think of the Holdovers? If you haven't seen it, please go see it and let us know in the comments. We'd love to read what you have to say. Chad, thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it. I hope you all have a Merry Christmas. Tell the people where they can find you.
oh yeah, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, check out my other channels, Cinema Chad. I do rankings, reviews, just a lot of different stuff. I need to do more kind of like sit downs like this and just chat. But if you want to check out kind of a sit down conversational style review, go over and check out my buddy's channel, the Dill Pickle Movie Network, where I do a show called Picture This. We talk the Oscars and we just go through every single month we go through a different year of the Oscars. We watch all of the Best Picture nominees. We rank them. We talk about them. We highlight some actors and actresses, and just have a lot of fun doing that. Also, check out Welcome to Primetime, which is my horror channel that I run with my wife Carrie and my buddy Hunter, and we just have a really great time talking about horror movies all the time. So I think that's about it. But yeah, definitely thank you for having me. Check out the Holdovers, and Merry Christmas, everyone.
Are you all still watching Buffy together?
Yeah, well, no, not as like a channel. We've actually finished that.
Okay.
But now Hunter is a fan, and
Oh, well, good for him.
Carrie and I, speaking of Buffy, Carrie and I have started to go through the Buffy episodes in the hype for the revival that's coming out with Chloe Zhao.
Oh yeah, that I forgot about that.
Yeah, we're doing our own little review series called "In Every Generation," and we don't have many episodes up, but I think in the new year we're going to get started back on that and trying to review every episode of it. I know there's no shortage of those kinds of podcasts now, but we've always wanted to do one. So yeah.
Yeah, all those links down below. Go check them out over there. And thank you all so much for watching Christmania. It was one that it's like, when I did it in 2023, I reviewed so many bad movies in a row that I was just like, I'm done. I need to take a year off. And I did, and I kind of missed it. And so when I came back to do it again, I'm like, I'm going to pick a lot of good ones. And I did. I mean, getting through the mean one was a bit rough. So was Christmas Eve, not the day, but the Patrick Stewart movie Christmas Eve. That one was not good, but the rest of them were honestly at worst solid, and at most like really great. So I did a good job. Good on me for that. So thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for watching in 2025. 2026 is going to be a big year for me. I promise that a lot, but it's going to be big. So stay tuned for all of that. But for Chad, my name is Ryan Cam. We will see you all in the next one. Merry Christmas. You all have a great night. Thank you.